Hi, everybody. We are live. Thank you for watching. Um, so we are earlier tonight. I hope that didn't mess up anybody else's schedule. There's a reason why, but I'm not going to say it here because I don't want to draw attention to it, but everybody knows. Anyhow, I just want to remind you guys to smash the sub button, like the comment, because we're not getting a lot of likes, guys. So the like is right there. Just like it. Throw us a comment and then just share away with it. Share it to everybody, your friends, your family, you know. And now I put on there, share it with some local news media people, your favorite media people, your favorite podcasters, and see what they have to say. You know, I know that I've shared mine with a couple of people. I got thumbs up, but I didn't get any feedback. But hey, at least they looked at it. So we get most of our views on replay when we share it out later. And so, but I appreciate anything live. If you're live, please subscribe, like, comment, share, comment tonight on the live. Any questions you might have. Paul is still missing in action. So we still sending out prayers for Paul as he recovers, and hopefully soon. I think he's on the mend. I think he's moving in the right direction. So, we can't wait to get him back here because he does a lot of humor. From the comments I've been reading, I guess I'm not the funny man or the knowledgeable man. The knowledgeable man is sitting next to me, Calvin, and the funny man is off for tonight. So I guess I'm just the dry guy.
You're the key to everything, Dean.
Yeah. Producer. There we go. Producer. Anyway, so we're gonna kind of start with some of the things we usually start with. Lately, we've been having Kelvin go over the news of the week. I mean, he'll probably pass over some media day stuff since we're gonna cover that separately. But Kelvin, why don't you tell us what happened this week in the news?
I was just going to say about all the news that happened this week, other than some new basketball offers for the women and the men, which some of them don't really matter that much because they're like from 2030 and 2029 and 2028 for the women, But other than that, the only other thing I wrote a post about was a kid that I really liked. Been talking about for a year was DJ. It's either Voname or Vondame. I don't know how to say it, but he's a redshirt freshman. He was a walk-on. He's so good they gave him a scholarship for the fall season. So, and he just never drops the ball, and a tremendous athlete. He's like Hawkinson and Laporta. He was a big wide receiver in high school that I'm real excited about DJ. So, and that all the other news was, I mean, it was an avalanche of media day news, so.
There is. And so why don't we get right to it then? Let's go right into the media days.
Take it away, kid.
Well, I was just going to say, Kirk had a lot of things to say. Now, this kind of scares me because Kirk is usually laid back and saying things like, man, we're not there yet. We got a lot of work to do. But he's kind of giddy. He pretty much all but said that the starting QB would be Gronk, which he never really does things like that. That's out of character for him. And did say that in a perfect world, or I don't think he used the word perfect world. I think I added that. He said the plan is to have a 2 QB race between Brown and Hilinski. Now, he didn't use the name in that sentence, but he did use their names as their number 2 and 3 quarterback. Yeah. So we all know that that's who the race is between next year.
Yeah.
And he's really giddy over the wide receiver room, which just like, wow. I mean, it's like, this is Kirk we're talking about.
I think we're all excited, aren't you, Dean?
I'm very excited.
Yeah,
I'm cautiously optimistically excited.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So anyway, he says that the improvement, wide receiver room, kind of mirrors the O line improvement going on as they grow. They grow.
he compared it to the O line last year,
Yeah,
where the O line had never been good, and he said, I like this group." That's what he said last year, and it turned out we had, a Joe Moore Award nominated group that
yeah.
was awesome.
Oh
So
yeah,
that was this comparison that our wide receivers might be like our O line was last year. So
yeah. Well, then he kind of was asked about the cornerback, and I'm surprised he did this. Kind of talked without really saying anything from his defensive coordinator, but cornerback competitions. He said he expect Hall and Lee to be out there, like what I think we all do. But he's expecting Jalen Watson and Burrows from South Dakota State to make an impact. South Dakota State or South Dakota for Burrows?
I think it's South Dakota. The Hawthorne kid's the Hawthorne kid, the defensive tackle is the one that came with Gronk and
Yeah.
their roommates at Iowa, Bryce Hawthorne. But Barros is from either North Dakota or South Dakota. I can't
Okay.
keep it
Yeah.
straight,
But he's very high on Jonah Pace and Bryce Hawthorne. Expects them to play quite a bit. So I'm still curious. I still haven't figured out who the guy from Purdue is because I thought he was a cornerback.
Ty Hudkins, he's a safety.
Okay. Oh, safety. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And he played as a true freshman last year for Purdue and used up his red shirt, but it was all special teams. I'm sure he got into some games in a blowout, but
I would expect him to see some special team stuff, and
oh
then
yeah.
if he's good enough backup to our safeties.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add about these are the things that stuck out for me with Kirk, but I know that he had a couple of other interviews and stuff going on that day. So anything you kind of want to add to it?
I don't know. See, I don't remember Kirk not talking about having a starting quarterback in years before, but it's like I always thought he would always say, "Well, Nate Stanley's expected to be our quarterback, and I expect Spencer Petras to be the starter." And the
Yeah.
last 2 years, he'd say, I'd expect Cade McNamara to be the starter." But as far as anything else, I'm trying to think. He had he had quotes that I loved, but a lot of people probably wouldn't like them or something. But I don't know. He said that he didn't think any coach. The question was, if you were going to advise Mr. Franklin at Penn State, who's been here 12 years, advice on making it to 27 years. Kirk says, "Well, I don't give other coaches advice, for one thing." But he said, "I just don't foresee any coach ever staying at a school 27 years." He said, "If I would have come to Iowa now and had my first 2 seasons, I'd have never made it to a third year." And then he said, "People aren't happy with coaches anymore." He said now with all the social media, he said there's so many self-proclaimed experts that all they do is criticize the coaches all the time, and fans have a outlet to do it and join in and everything. And he just couldn't. He said he was very lucky to come to Iowa and probably start out before all that started. So.
Well, I think he also said that nobody will ever be out of school 27 years
That's
again.
what he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
didn't think it would happen. He really bragged up, even though the guy hadn't scrimmaged at all, and they're running 7-on-7, just passing and catching. So there's he said that George kid from Ferris State, he's a right tackle, guard, left tackle. he said he looks like a Big Ten football player like that. And I'm sure they watched a lot of films of him and all that. He looks like Brandon Sheriff standing around. I mean, but we'll see if he can play.
Iowa has a knack for finding these guys from the smaller schools who can perform in the Big Ten at Iowa. I mean, I think I can only remember a couple of those guys over the years that didn't pan out, but I think most of them panned out and were a pleasant surprise. So, while some people are going for the big names and the 4 stars wanting to leave their schools, Iowa doesn't do that because those guys are just looking for a bag of money. Where
USC wanted him. It really came down to USC and Iowa, and I'm sure USC would have gave him more money, but thankfully there's kids out there that like Iowa because they're Iowa, and way more offensive linemen go to the NFL now from Iowa than they do from USC. And I'm sure that George got a good chunk of money because if you're a tackle in college football or a defensive tackle, it costs money, to get them.
All right, I want to tell you something. I want to go back to DJ. Von Nami. That's how you say it.
That's the way I thought it was. And then I looked the other day and people had a D in between the N and the A. And I thought, is it Von Dami? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to play it for you real quick.
Yep. I've been saying Von Nami for a while.
Yeah, Von Nami. Okay, I just thought I would do that. I had looked it up. It's nice having that stuff real close by and handy. I do miss the media magazines. The last one they put out was in 2023. They're not going to do it anymore, but all the information is available on the Hawkeye official website, except when you want to go look something up, it takes you forever to find it. When in the magazine, I can just go to it.
Yeah, but he was a great basketball player in high school, just like Hawkinson, and he run an 11.27 meters, which is very big, very fast for a guy that big. You know.
And we were gonna talk about a little bit about Beth Gett's comments, but after playing back her tape, this has nothing to do with football. I don't even know why she was interviewed in Vegas because she didn't even talk football. She talked, everything else but.
She just talked about. She lets coaches talk about football. She just talked about, everybody wants to know, well, how's it going? And she just says, well, this week, I don't know. She says it changes every week, and so.
Well, I think most people know by now that she talked about the risers for the students on the side of the court. I mean, there's a spot for it because it's wide open. I never understood why they never filled that in with seats before. Now they'll do that. I'm just not sure how they're going to do that without blocking people from watching the game. But however, she talked a lot about NIL and how we assume that the swarm would probably go away, but she says it's not going away.
She says it changes. Like I said, it changes every week.
That's what she said. She actually said. But she said that her and Brad are still having great conversations with each other. So, anybody, but she didn't mention anything about the flight program that she sent me emails on and letters in the mail on.
Well, the flight program is to support the revenue share.
Yeah.
It's to pay that 20 million revenue share because no college can afford to just take 20 million out of their budget because then the university, the athletic department would lose 20 million every year. Yeah. They'd have to borrow money. So
yeah, I think we're going to limit our comments to the highlights from Kirk on the media days rather than I really wanted to go in and dwell in on some of the other coaches and the things they had to say because some of them had some things to say, but I want to get to some of this other stuff on the show because I'm kind of excited for some of this other stuff we got. And I want you to talk about this one first. We're going to do this a cumulative poll that you put together. You put some work into it. and I want you to talk a little bit about how we came about and how the point system that you got. But this is all of us people involved with Talking Hawkeye Sports podcast. This is our preseason poll, cumulative, I assume.
It's Paul's picks, my picks, your picks, and Jason's.
Okay.
And I mathematically combined them like they did the Cleveland New Dealer Big Ten poll. It's pretty simple math. If a team, let's see, if Dean gives Ohio State first, Penn State first, that's 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just, whatever Penn State got in the other polls, we add them together. And when you get them all added up at the end, it's like a golf score. Whoever has the lowest score is in first place.
Yep. Just
So,
like the Cleveland paper did. Yep.
Yep. So.
Okay. All right. So you want to go down the list and just talk about them real quick?
Well, we ended up with a tie for first when we combined them.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State and Ohio State both had 6 points. And they both had 2 first place votes. They're the only teams that got any first place votes in our 4 people poll. So Penn State and Ohio State are tied at the top.
Okay.
Number 3 is Oregon. They had 10 points, so they were clear second place. And 4th place was Illinois. With 18 points, they're clear 4th place team. In 5th place, Iowa and Michigan tied at 22 points. And so we skipped to 7th place, and they were a very clear 5th place. Nobody was close to them. And Indiana then was 7th with 30 points. And they were pretty clear 7th place. 8th place was USC with 33, and they just edged out the 2 9th place teams, Washington and Nebraska, with 34. So there's only a 1 point difference there. So, and then, so we go to 11th place, and 10 points below Washington and Nebraska was Minnesota. And they just barely edged out UCLA, 44 points to 45. And then a clear 13th place was Rutgers. Another clear 14th place was Michigan State. And then way behind Michigan State was, I can't believe they've fallen this bad, Wisconsin was in 15th place by 8 points. And then 16th place, another clearly below Wisconsin was Northwestern. And they just edged out Maryland by 1 point. And then the unanimous last team was, of course, Purdue. They got 18th place in all 4 polls. 18 times 4 is 72. 72 points. They were unanimous. So,
yeah, I mean, it seems like the bottom 4 or 5 teams were, just depending on the order, were pretty much the same for everybody.
It'll be interesting with Purdue. They got a tremendous new coach, Barry Odom, who came from UNLV.
Yeah, and he's restocked that team with a lot of transfer portal people.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I probably would have picked them above Northwestern and Purdue and maybe even Wisconsin, until I started doing that transfer study. And it was like Purdue had 33 transfers and they spent Odom. I read articles and everything. Part of his deal when he's hired, he demanded the donors give him a lot of money, and boy, they did. Like, it kind of corresponds to like 25 million just for football. I couldn't believe it, but anyway.
And I'm not surprised between Iowa, Michigan, Indiana, Washington, Nebraska, Minnesota, all right in that group together. I think it's going to depend on who beats whom, but I think those are your 5 through ninth place teams when you
Yeah.
think about it, or 10th place teams.
Yeah.
Because I just think they're good enough to beat most of the teams on their schedule, but not all of
Mhm.
them.
I heard Urban Meyer talk about the Big Ten.
Mhm.
He said the Big Ten's very lot deeper than the SEC thinks. And then Doctorman said the exact same thing that Urban Meyer said. He said any of them top 11 teams that are kind of consensus top 11,
Mhm.
like Doctorman loves the Washington Huskies, which I do too. And
Oh, I do
he
too.
said
I
he
actually
said
had them higher than they finished here.
all 11 of them teams, if they had got a little lucky in their schedule, he said all of them could possibly make the playoffs. He said, you look at Washington's schedule, he says, I see 2 losses. If you only have 2 losses in the Big Ten, you're going to playoffs.
Yeah.
Unless, I suppose, if they lost to Washington State in the apple cart game. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's very interesting. This Big Ten is like, holy cow, what a bunch of great coaches there are
Yeah.
in the
Well,
league.
in Nebraska too, I think their ceiling is only 2 losses, and I think
Mhm.
that could very well happen. I see them more as an 8-4 team, which I believe is where they're ranked now. It looks more like an 8-4 team.
Yeah. I
And
just I just knocked them down a couple. Looking at their offense, I think, oh my God, they got great tight ends, 2 of them. And I love their quarterback. If he grows up, every young quarterback has to progress, right, Dean?
yes,
You know,
yes, that's
and
the
but the
hope for
thing
everybody's young quarterback. Anybody
yeah,
who starts a freshman quarterback and has to suffer through a year with them, your
yeah.
hope is that when they're a sophomore, they learned a lot of lessons.
And I asked on a podcast, I asked a Nebraska expert. He was, of course, them Nebraska experts are all thinking they're going to go unbeaten and national championship and all that shit. I just said, I couldn't think of the kid's name. His name's like Hudspec or something. He was the heavyweight wrestler at Nebraska last year and just this great defensive tackle, Hudgenut, whatever it was. And Ty Thompson, the other guy, they're both playing in the NFL this year. And I go, you guys don't have anybody to replace them, do you? They got defensive ends and stuff, but them 300 pound and 330 pound guys that run 4.9 40s, where do you find them? And he goes, yeah, you might be right. He said, I don't think we have replacements for them. So I thought maybe the Nebraska defense will be just a tick lower this year. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I mean, I just thought this was kind of interesting the way it all unfolded. How do you think this compares to how the Cleveland paper came out?
Well,
How
I know
close are we, you think?
Cleveland paper had Iowa in 7th, which is very close to
Mhm.
us having them in 5th. I mean, you know, uh,
Yeah,
I don't remember I don't have the Cleveland poll memorized or
yeah,
anything, but
yeah. Well, I think we're giving more respect in this poll to Washington because I actually had them ranked higher than
why?
most
Yeah,
people are. I don't think a lot of people are giving them
but
respect.
but our other 2 voters had them in the same spot, which
Mhm.
was 12th.
Yeah.
So they weren't respecting them as much,
Yeah.
you know.
And the only reason why we've got Wisconsin so low is because of their schedule. They might be very well improved team.
Mhm.
Um, but they've got the hardest road in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, we'll get a better idea what Wisconsin's going to look like when they play Alabama, the second week of the season?
It probably is. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Because nobody
It,
wants to take on a big boy the first game of the season, but some schools do.
uh,
Iowa and Kansas State going at it this next Thursday. Can you believe it? Football kicks off this Thursday.
I believe everything you tell me, Dean. I believe everything you tell me and half what you don't. So,
Yeah. Well, this is crazy because that's August 31st. So I thought Iowa State was playing a week before that. So I guess they're starting the same week as everybody else. They're just starting a couple days earlier.
I thought Iowa State was playing the the week before Iowa, like August 24th or something, but I don't know.
Well, August 20. Wait a minute, July. I'm looking at the July calendar. Let me get that back up here. Okay.
Nobody's playing in July, so
Yeah. Okay. The 21st. The 21st, right? Because Iowa kicks off its season on the 30th. Iowa State kicks off its season on the 21st. Has another game on the 28th when they come back from wherever they're playing, Scotland or something.
So they don't have a bye week before Iowa?
No, they're going to come home and play another game right away. So they'll have 2 games under their belt when they meet Iowa.
I have to admit that I kind of check Iowa State's roster, but I don't pay any attention to their schedule too much. But
yeah,
I just know we're going to beat them. So sorry, but I'm sorry, my cycling friend. But.
Yeah, I'm going to do a quick commercial break, and then we're going to go back into the other thing that we want to do.
Okay.
Okay. I had this clicked off. Here we go. All right, that was the Villains Media Network, which we are a member of. And I've been a guest on a couple of those episodes already, so they're a lot of fun. I think something I didn't see there is they're going to have a national football show by Chris Vandy. Vandy Chris will be doing a national football show, and I think I'm looking forward to the national version of it.
I tune into all their shows and at least watch for an hour or so. Some of them I just can't. I got other things I got to do or something. So
yeah, well, some of them are pretty wild on the wild side. These are pretty young guys, a lot of them, and
I think it's a good show. So
all right, this is you figured out the transfer portals, QBs, and things like that. We need you to explain to everybody what we're looking at on this, please.
Okay. I can't see it, but I got it written down here the way I had it written. The first, these teams are in order. I thought, how am I going? I had to start doing all this data on it, and this took like 4 or 5 hours. And anyway, so I put them in the order that we had them picked in our poll, our combined poll. So anyway, the first column is the name of the team, of course. The second and third column is, I looked up all the 2 deeps on our lads, which the only non-really updated 2 deep on there, of course, was Iowa's, because Iowa hadn't announced any 2 deep since like January or February. But all the other ones were really up to date. But anyway, the first and second column was how many transfers. The first number is how many transfers are listed first team for each team. The second column is how many in the 2 deep are transfers. And I was just knocked over how many transfers some of these teams have. And of course, Iowa had the fewest in the 2 deep. But I can go down. I don't know how you want me to do this, Dean, but
you can just go down and explain it, like
okay.
like 7 and 12.
The elite of elite teams historically in the Big Ten, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan, they pay a lot of their, and this is also about NIL money, total NIL money. When they spend on a transfer, they pay a lot of money for them. They're elite. They like 5 stars and 4 stars players, right? But they also spend a lot of money on recruiting high school players. Like we all know Michigan's new quarterback supposedly got 10 million over 4 years or whatever. Right?
Yes.
Supposedly. But anyway, so Penn State and Ohio State, Iowa, Michigan, they're the teams that don't depend on transfers as much. But Ohio State and Penn State pay a lot for their recruits. They pay a lot to retain guys. It's like Ohio State's wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith. He's probably getting $3.5, $4 million to play wide receiver at Ohio State. So them first 2 columns, you gotta lean into that a little bit. That some of these teams don't really rely on transfers as much as others. Some of them, like Purdue's got 33 transfers. Michigan State, their coach demanded a lot of money. 28 transfers. Washington, 21 transfers. So anyway, those are the first 2 columns. Is how many starting transfers are in the 2 deep right now, and how many. The second number is how many total transfers in their 2 deep. The first
one thing that stuck out with me. Let me just. Yep. About Iowa is that we only had 9 transfers in, and we spent $15 million, which is the second lowest compared to only to Northwestern, but they had 13 transfers, so they spent less money on their people than we did.
Yeah, we got Gronowski and George. Pace would have cost quite a bit of money. Anytime you get a defensive tackle, we were Pace and Hawthorne. We're Wisconsin. Wisconsin paid for a whole defensive line, and they were still wanting our 2 defensive tackles we got. But anything else here? And Iowa's, it's like it says 3 starters out of the transfer portal, which are the 2 wide receivers who are number 1 right now, according to that old depth chart. Seth Anderson and Jacob Gill and Gronowski. But I predict,
but that'll change after fall practice.
This George guy that we paid quite a bit of money at tackle, he might start. He's not even in the 2 deep that was posted back then. And neither is Hawthorne. Well, he hadn't transferred. He didn't go through spring practice,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the 2 defensive tackles might be in the 2 deep. And that Barrows, the cornerback, might be in the 2 deep. He might start. We don't know. But so those 2 numbers, the second number won't change, but the first number, and anyway.
Okay.
And then the third column is just quarterbacks, because I'm always interested in how many of the starting quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Last year, it was 15 out of 18 were transfers. This year, it's only 13 out of 18, but that could change.
That could change if the guy at Michigan doesn't pan out. And the guy
that's the one. That's the one on my mind too.
Yeah, and Minnesota, I believe, also has a freshman slated to start.
Yeah, he's a redshirt freshman, but they got a transfer behind him.
Yeah,
if that don't work out, and it's like the quarterbacks. If it says 2 under the column, that means both their first and second string are transfers. Like Iowa's, our top 3 quarterbacks are transfers. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of the Big Ten teams have their top 2 quarterbacks at this time are transfers. So it just knocks me over how much the transfer portal and money just plays into this. you know. And boy, if
Oh.
a team gets a new coach, it's like Ben McCollum. Ben McCollum comes and all of a sudden, oh, well, he's got $8 million now instead of 1 million. You know, that's part of him coming to Iowa is, you know, the Beth and the donors and even maybe the football coach have to say, yeah, he can have more money, you know. So because Iowa did not, I don't think they spent all their money on football. I think some of it might have got moved over to Ben's column, but I'm not sure. But
Maybe Kirk said, "Hey, a good basketball program helps my football program.
well,
Here you go. Move some of my money over to the basketball program." You never
the
know.
way I would think it, well, that's kind of Lucy kind of helped with Lucy last year, but I'm thinking that Kirk probably him and Tyler are sitting there and they got this much money, you know, to spend for football, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they get through the transfer portal, and all these guys want so much money to come, and Kirk pretty much thumbs his nose at them. Well, we ain't paying you. We ain't paying you $2 million to come to Iowa. You know, we can do fine without you. So at the end of the whole story, by May, whenever the transfer portal closed, you know, he got what he really needed out of the transfer portal, and he might not have spent all his money. You know, have $2.5 million left over. Hey, let Ben have it. He's trying to, and men's basketball had no NIL for the last, ever since NIL started, you know. And,
Yeah. I think women's was like that at the beginning too.
and Beth has made the comment that they ask what percentage is going to this sport, that sport. And she always says, well, it'll probably change on an annual basis. Like this year, men's basketball might get a little more because it's available.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben might know that, well, I better recruit some high school players and develop them because that money ain't going to be there every year, you know. But
yeah, I agree.
That's the way I'm thinking anyway.
Well, speaking of
and I want to get to the last. I want to get to the last number in the column. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
And I sent this to a couple journalists that everybody knows, sports journalists. And anyway, I said before I make a fool of myself, I said, "Will you look this over?" And they looked over it, and well, he said, "Well, you certainly got all the transfer numbers right. The last column, Kelvin. How did you come up with that?" And I said, "It was a long story. I just started by saying, well, Brett Bielema said that 4 teams on his schedule, which would be Ohio State, who's the other 3 teams? Indiana, Washington. Who's the 4th team? Help me. He said there was 4 teams on his schedule that
Illinois.
Well, he is Illinois.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Indiana.
Yeah, I said Indiana. Oh, Indiana, USC, Washington, and Ohio State.
Okay.
He said publicly, because he was teed off last January. And he told publicly, all the local papers in Illinois, hey, you donors, you guys step up for Illinois. What were they, 10-2 last year, or 9-3? 10-3.
No, they were like 10-2 or something like that.
I think they were 10-3, but maybe they were. I don't know.
Oh, that could be that. They could be.
Because they played a bowl game. Yeah,
9-3 and then won a bowl game.
Yeah, he said we're 10-3, best season in Illinois for a long, long time. And he said I got 4 teams on my schedule: Ohio State, Washington, USC, and Indiana that are spending over $30 million in NIL, and he said it's really over 35 million. and it just shocked the Illinois people. Illinois has plenty of money. They're a very good business school and all that. And they upped he like held their feet to the fire, and he spent $4 million just on the high school kids from last year's recruiting class. He was quoted at the Big Ten media conference that my average for the high school sign, he said, I spent most of my money retaining players and in the transfer portal, but our average payment to high school kids, and it about knocked me down, $150,000 a piece. And it's like, they had 20 some kids. That's like $4 million, and I thought, boy, I bet Iowa didn't spend anything like that, which they didn't.
I believe Kirk and Tyler's philosophy is the freshmen have to earn it first, because they like to pay according to their ability, according to their value to the team. If I'm not mistaken, I believe
they want them to earn it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jose probably got some money, but for the most part, Kirk always says.
You'll say. I'm sorry. You'll say.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not going to forget that anymore.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sure Kirk says all the time. Tyler Barnes says all the time. Kelvin Bell says all the time. And a lot of Jan Jensen says, when we talk to a player about coming to Iowa, if they even mention money, we just forget about them. If that's your priority. Well, if that's your priority, if that's your first thing, I think Jan said, it's the fifth thing they mention. If you're recruiting Addie Deal and she says, well, after she talks about, what she wants in college and basketball and all that, if the fourth or fifth thing is, well, USC is offering me, some money, I'm sure that's not a big deal. But yeah. So it would just knock me over when I looked at, Illinois, 19 transfers, and then they paid all these guys their quarterback and all these players to come back. And then they got all these 19 transfers, and I thought, holy cow. So that's how I kind of, if Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, USC and Washington are all paying us, and Nebraska and Wisconsin are all paying $30 million and over, then I just looked at the transfers that other teams brought in and kind of tried to evaluate the value. And then if they had a returning stars, that they had to pay. And that's how I came up with these NIL values. It was like, I bet it just kind of knocked me over. It's not precise. It's not precise, And then I dug up, I almost said a name. I told a journalist that I dug up, kind of when these new coaches were hired, or all the news in them local papers about what they were demanding as far as NIL. We gotta spend with Michigan. We gotta spend with Indiana, the Purdue coach. I need the money to compete, and it's a big deal nowadays. So that's how the last column, and Iowa's could have been a lot higher if Kirk would have found the right players. He's picky.
Yes, yes, he is.
But he gave Dunker a lot of money. Logan Jones, Stevens got money. Aaron Graves he was offered a lot of money to go elsewhere. And I'm sure they got good money. But
shall we move on to a new topic?
If you want to, yeah.
Yeah, let's move on to a new topic. Because I'm looking at time, and I'm kind of anxious to see what some of your heartbreak losses and biggest comebacks, or best comebacks, I would say. I put best comebacks or favorite comebacks.
Can we do the comebacks first?
Sure, if you want to, we can do that.
You go ahead. I have like 5 of them, I think.
I have a few. We may have a few of the same.
Well, you never know.
I think my number one favorite comeback is the LSU all up Tate to Holloway in the whatever bowl that was in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. How
What's
about
number
you? What's your
two?
next one? What's yours?
Oh, my number one
Mhm.
was being behind Georgetown to go to the Final Four by 15, and we shot 75% in the second half. And I didn't even think of the Holloway game because we were ahead the whole game in that game.
But we were behind at the end.
But it was a big comeback on the last play. So I get your thinking. Okay, what was your number two?
My number two. Hang on here. It is. Oh, the largest comeback in Iowa football history. Pittsburgh, 2011, 21-point rally to win that game, 31-27.
Wow, that was the biggest one?
Yep, that's listed. I looked it up. And all the articles read it as the largest comeback in Iowa football history.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I only have football here. I wasn't thinking basketball or anything.
Oh.
Although I did think about the Georgetown comeback. I just want to say, while we're thinking about it,
Yeah, I only got one football game on, so we're going to cover both courts pretty good. So.
Yeah, there we go. And then I thought about Caitlin Clark's last second buzzer beater against, I think it was Indiana.
Yeah.
And then Jordan's last second buzzer beater against, I believe, Wisconsin. Okay. But I mean, there's plenty in history along that line. See, I just didn't think of basketball.
It's just my mindset was more comeback wins. It was always some game that we were way behind in, not just a shot at the end or anything. But
yeah. Okay. No, go ahead with yours. Next one.
My number two.
Yes.
Was Tom Davis's first year when we were behind by 22 at Illinois, and we hadn't won in Champaign for ever. And Brad Lowhouse and Gamble and all them guys brought us back, and we won at Illinois and stayed at number one in the country that day.
So, wasn't it like down 22 with about 7 or 8 minutes to go in the game?
I don't remember exactly, but I just know that we were down by 22. And
there was a game against Illinois that
the last 10 minutes was crazy.
But I think we kept stealing the inbound pass or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My next comeback is well, I didn't write it down because I couldn't find it. But here's one. Down 14 points against Indiana in 2009, and we came back for the win.
Yeah, I got that.
Write down the final score on that one.
Yeah, that's my only football game I got with the crazy Tyler Sash game.
Oh, is that when Brett Musburger says "Happy Halloween, Iowa City" or something like that?
I don't remember, but I know that it hit. Sash was the fourth player that quarterback's ball hit. Okay. Now, three different defensive players, the ball tipped around, bounced off their bodies, and right into Sash's hands, who was sprinting the other way. I think it was 97 yards or something. Anyway, that's my number 4. You go to your next one then.
Okay. 2002 versus Purdue. Down 10 points in the fourth quarter, late in the game. We needed a blocked field goal, return for a touchdown, a long pass, and a late interception to secure the win.
Yep.
Okay. But the one thing I wanted to go back real quick on the Indianas, because I actually have a couple of Indianas on here. What was the Indiana game that we fell way behind? And obviously we didn't fall 21 points behind because we didn't, because Pittsburgh holds that record. But the Marvin McNutt game, I think we were down and we threw a pass to Marvin McNutt, and I think he went 99 yards for a touchdown. Do you remember that? Does anybody remember that?
I was probably working at J&P Cycles on a Saturday and couldn't watch it, but anyway. I'm not any help there.
Okay, no, that's fine.
And
I was
sorry.
hoping we had some viewers, but maybe they'll get it in replay
You know?
because
So
we
I,
only
so I,
we only have
so I,
one person watching currently.
you know, uh, so I already, that Indiana football game with Tyler Sash, that was the game that Stanzi, I think, threw 4 interceptions. Jeez. But anyway, so that was
Oh,
my,
hey, while you're thinking about that, let me hold that thought for a second.
yeah.
Stanzi reminds me of the other thing that Kirk brought up in his thing. I couldn't figure out what the thing was about Stanzi, and it
Mm-hmm.
was that he learned his lesson that year that he waited too long to switch quarterbacks.
Yep. He said that year, I remember it the rest of my life. He said, I waited too long for Anger to play at middle linebacker and Stanzi to be the quarterback.
Yeah. Okay, let's move. Go back to your thoughts now.
I'm sure there was other times that he was ready to yank after Stanzi got the job that he was ready to. Thank God he didn't yank him out after 4 interceptions. He threw so many interceptions, it was ridiculous. But anyway, so that was my 4th game. So I'm going to go back to my 3rd best comeback was the Rick Mount night at Purdue, the Fran McCaffrey's team. Again, we were down 22 points at halftime, and Fran just put the press on them, and we beat at Purdue, which we hardly, we never win at Purdue in basketball.
Yes. Correct.
And we won that game. I don't
What year was
remember a
that?
lot
Do you
of
remember the
particular.
year?
Oh, I think Keegan Murray was on. I think that was Keegan Murray's year that he was close to being National Player of the Year. Maybe Garza graduated the year before, I think.
I just remember that I wasn't able to watch that game. I was out at my church for something. I don't remember what, but I remember I had it on the radio. So
Yeah, I was tempted to turn it off at halftime, but I love my Hawks. And it was 2021 because Garza, unfortunately, it's one of the saddest things in the history of mankind was Garza's senior year was during COVID when nobody could come watch him,
I know
So
that
it
is
was
kind of sad.
2021. So.
Okay. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. I have another one where we were down 16-10 to Indiana in the 4th quarter, and somehow we scored enough points to win 26-16. So 16 looks like that we scored 16 points in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay.
We had some good comebacks in football under Kirk. A couple Penn State games where we were behind 14-0, the one that Claiborne blocked the punt, and then the other game that Kakert just wrote about today, like in 2008, we were behind 10-0 at Penn State and come back to win. But anyway, my my last one on my list is Tom Davis's last year, where we were behind Kansas by 18 points with 3 minutes to go. And Kansas had not lost a home game in some ridiculous, like 130 some games. Rafe LaFrenz was the senior on that great Kansas team, and McCausland couldn't miss a 3-pointer, and we won. That was just remarkable to me, but I just couldn't remember very many football games, even when Hayden was coaching, where we fell what I would call way behind and come back and won. That's why I didn't have much for football on this comeback thing.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a lot of the basketball games myself. I do
guess
know
the
that
only
Iowa's had their share of walk-off field goal wins.
Oh yeah.
And that's great. I didn't put any of those down because
Yeah.
I mean, I just like these are the ones that just stuck out in my mind.
And then I guess in women's basketball, Caitlin's last Big Ten game, the Big Ten championship, we were way behind Nebraska her last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we rallied to get back in the game. And then we were behind with like 50 seconds left. And I still don't know how Kate Martin hit that 3-pointer out of the corner, and Caitlin scored, and Gabby blocked the shot. And it was like that was a miraculous comeback win, really.
Yeah,
You know.
Nebraska had our number that year, and
Mhm.
last year they also had our number. I don't
Yeah.
think we beat. I think we lost to them twice, didn't we?
I don't remember, but Nebraska has a good coach. I don't
Yeah.
like her. I think the Iowa team don't like that coach, but she's a very good coach, and it's a real rivalry. I mean, Caitlin got very upset if she only lost one game to Nebraska, and that game at Nebraska her senior year when she was sick as a dog.
She
You
was
know,
sick, yeah, and we
she
couldn't
had
do
like
nothing.
30 points. She had like 30 points in the first three quarters. Then she couldn't hit a shot after that. So
Yeah, Bluter still talked about that game as she can't understand how they let a 17-point lead get away from them.
yeah, and I remember the tape at the end of Caitlin in the locker room, and she said words and threw a clipboard against the blackboard. She used words that we can't use on this Christian network. So. And then I remember
Okay.
Lisa was really pissed because Nebraska was playing music while Hannah Stolke was shooting free throws, and then
Aren't
and
they
then
supposed to, out of courtesy, stop playing music?
well, of course, that's what Lisa's point. And then Lisa was really mad when Nebraska started their news conference. They're supposed to let Iowa go after
Yep.
the game. And Lisa came out of the locker room a little late because she was chewing them kids' rear ends out. And she come out late, and then they wouldn't let her go up to the podium because Nebraska was having their news conference. You could hear
Oh, you
Lisa
could hear her in
screaming,
the background screaming.
what the hell's going on? And then she said, and then you people playing music while we're playing shooting free throws. It wasn't music, it was sound effects. You know. Oh, was she teed off. So
Yeah.
but that's a good memory.
Yeah. Yeah. My final was 2013, also football versus Nebraska. Down 13 in the fourth quarter, and we won that game 38-17. We won it going away.
Which game was that again?
Nebraska in 2013.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to remember it. 2014, was that the game we gave away?
Yeah, we gave that one away.
Yeah, we kept
remains
kicking to a punter.
That remains only one of two games we've lost since 2013 in Nebraska.
Yeah. And then they got rid of Polini that year.
Yeah.
So,
Because we have to evaluate where we're at as a program, and they have to evaluate where we're. I don't remember. But anyway, he got rid of Bo Pelini because he wasn't national championship caliber, although the guy was winning 9 games a year and going to bowl games.
yeah.
All right.
And I had. All right, do you have any other subject?
No, the last thing I got is heartbreak losses.
Yeah, I have my list of heartbreaks. I still have my list of villains you guys wanted, but we'll wait.
We're waiting for Paul on that one because that was Paul's idea. He really wants to do it.
You know? So, did you want to do any of your heartbreaks? Or?
Why don't you go ahead and start?
Only 7. I had so many heartbreaks. You're an Iowa fan. It's like being a Cub fan. I mean, I could think of like 100 heartbreaks, but
I think I got 7. I got 7.
now I got it. Here they are. I cut it down to 10. But do you want my number one?
Sure, give me a number 1.
Number 1 was easy. You know, losing the Big Ten championship game against Michigan State. That long drive by Michigan State, and
yeah,
we should have won that game. But
if we could
that
have
was
gone off the
a
field,
heartbreak.
we couldn't stop them on 3rd and 4th downs. If we could have gone off on any of those downs off the field, we would have won that game.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of gone to the playoffs.
and there was a lot of things during that game that was just bad luck. I mean, one play we're down on the goal line, we're at least going to get a field goal, which would have won the game at the end if we had them 3 points. And Bether goes back and he throws a pass. I think it was to Kittle. about 1 yard deep in the end zone on an inside route. And it goes through Kittle's hands, hits his shoulder pads, and the linebacker behind him grabs the ball for an interception. So we didn't get any points. It's a very unlucky game.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Okay. So that was my number one game too. Here's my number two.
Okay.
In 2010, Iowa has the lead, and we're forcing a 4th down punt and deep in Wisconsin's territory.
Oh, Jesus.
They fake it, and they come back.
Yeah.
They fake it, and I think they end up scoring on that. We lose 31-30. That game, Wisconsin has always credited with their turnaround because up till then, we owned Wisconsin until that year.
That's exactly right, and that was Brett Bielema's call.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was sitting watching that game, and I was yelling at the TV because I've never been to any Iowa athletic event. I was yelling at TV, fake punt, because I knew there was no reason for Wisconsin to be punting.
Right. But the Iowa players didn't know that.
We ran the ball so good back then that we were going to run the clock out.
Yeah. But I was at Longhorn, Texas Roadhouse Grill or whatever they called it, Longhorn, in Waterloo with my mom, all my family. We had the whole big family thing. All my sisters, brothers, siblings, everything were there. Big family thing. And we were watching the game on their TV set. And I remember how angry I got when we let that guy fake the punt and get a first down. Because I will never forget that. And all my family's looking at me like it's just a game.
Yeah. Hey, I had that fake punt was number 8 on my 10. So
okay. All right, you got another one you want to share?
Oh, number 2 just killed me when I was 7 years old was Iowa losing to Jacksonville State to go to the Final Four. So
okay.
And that tip in by Pembroke Burrows III. Oh my God.
I thought that game was like on 56 or 57, somewhere in there.
It was a Miller six-pack. 1969-70.
I don't know why I thought it was older. See what happens when you get old, your mind gets feeble.
And the thing was that John Wooden was deathly scared of Iowa that year because Ralph Miller we played UCLA other years on neutral floors, and Ralph Miller was 2-0 against him. And that was not John Wooden's best team. He didn't have Lou Alcindor, I don't think, and he didn't have Bill Walton yet. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. All right. My next game is it's not a fair catch game. We lost to Minnesota. Even though we still had a chance to win the game, our quarterback couldn't get the job done. He ended up going backwards and throwing an interception, and all he needed was like 20 yards, 20 freaking yards for a field goal to win the game.
Yeah.
So that was heartbreaking because I think after the excitement of that Cooper scoring that touchdown, to have it taken away, I think everybody was heartbroken.
Yeah, that was my number 16 game.
Okay.
By the way, today I put up a post on your site and Jason's of the guy we hate, the gymnast from Minnesota, PJ Fleck. He talked about that. He said they asked him who's the best fans and the hardest stadium to play in, and he said there ain't no doubt it's Kinnick Stadium at Iowa. Iowa's got the best fans in the country. He said, when I was at Ohio State, we went in there, we had the number 1 team. And he said, I never heard anything so loud in my life. I don't know what year that was. And he said, the Cooper DeJean thing, he just called it the thing. He doesn't say that it was a good call or anything. He just said, the Cooper DeJean thing, he said, the whole game was loud when Cooper ran that back. And then he said, when they overturned it, he said, it was the most electric, negative thing he'd ever been involved in. And he said, not only were we dealing with the noise, he said we were dodging stuff being thrown at us on the side.
Were they really? I didn't even know that.
Oh no, you know that. Oh.
Okay.
But anyway, is it my turn then, or
Yeah.
are you done?
Yeah, I'm done with mine on this one.
So that was my sixth one. So my third one, Heartbreak, was of course, oh gosh, ahead of UNLV by 20 points after about the first minute to go to the Final Four with Tom Davis's first year, and we lost that game.
Yeah, so we still had a chance to come back and win it at the end, though.
These games are so painful, Dean.
I know it.
Why are you making me go through this?
Well, because AI asked it a couple of weeks ago on my Facebook page, and I thought, let's just talk about it on the show. Different audience.
I thought you loved me, and here you are torturing me.
I'm torturing myself too. A lot of bad memories in these
What's
days.
your next one?
All right. The loss that we lost to Penn State on that last second, I believe it was Barkley that caught the pass that was almost tipped in the end zone.
Barkley didn't catch it. The wide receiver did, but that's my next game too. So. Yeah.
That was hard because we thought we had that one won, but we couldn't. But just like the Michigan State game, we could not stop them. They just kept moving the ball on us.
Yeah, and I read an account of that the other day, and the guy that jumped up and missed it, I can't remember what his name was, but he said, I could have jumped higher. He said, I thought I had it. And he said, I just jumped up high enough. I thought I'd get that ball. And he said, it just missed my fingertip. He says, I could feel it. Off
so
the end of my fingertip.
If he could have just jumped another inch, we would have won the game.
He said he could have easily. But he thought he had it, Oh my gosh. Jeez.
He didn't want to overplay it, apparently, because he thought he had it.
You're killing me, Dean.
I know it. All right, what's your next one?
If I die because of this, you got to find a replacement. Yeah.
I have a couple of volunteers, but I won't. I haven't talked to them.
Am I doing okay replacing Paul's sense of humor?
You're doing all right. We're doing fine.
Anyway, my number 5. Oh, I don't even want to talk about this. Our only regular season loss in 2002. We're way ahead of Iowa State. I don't remember the halftime score, and Brad Banks lost the Heisman Trophy and had a terrible second half when we lost to Iowa State at home.
I believe he fumbled the ball twice.
Mm-hmm.
Twice in the
that was a game. That was a game. I know you hate it. You guys hate it. If Kirk could have handed off every play and we'd have won that game.
You know what? I forgot all about that game, or it would have been on my list too.
I thought of 100 games, and they were all painful.
Okay.
Well, you got a next one?
Yeah, I'm going to actually go 2 of them because they kind of go hand in hand.
Oh, shoot.
Okay. 2009, Stanzi gets hurt in the end zone. We're undefeated, 9-0, and Northwestern hurts our boy, and we lose that game 17-10. That one hurt because in the long run, I think it cost us a shot at the national championship.
That was one of mine too, Dean.
Okay. All right. Followed by the game at Ohio State where we lost 27-24 in overtime when we could have gone for the win in regulation, and we chose to take a knee and send it to overtime.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have that one on. As I remember on Facebook after that game, I posted on there, and I must have had 200 likes on that post. I said, I've never been so proud of a team in my life,
On the Ohio State game?
Yeah, Vandenberg come in there, and I think he was 20 out of 22 passes or something, and he was terrible the week before.
At Minnesota?
No, the Northwestern game where Stanzi broke his leg.
Yes, right, because it was back-to-back games.
Yeah. Stanzi broke his leg, and Vandenberg had to go in, and Vandenberg hadn't had none of the number one snaps the whole week.
Yeah. Well, Vandenberg played okay at Ohio State. He didn't play so hot at Minnesota.
He played better than okay. You check his stats. It was like ridiculous. But that's why I would never put that on a Heartbreak, because we just played over our head that day, and Vandenberg, he played. It was ridiculous. How does a freshman, first-time starting quarterback? But it did prove to people that it makes a lot of difference to get the first-string snaps all week. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the sad thing is, he was a decent quarterback. It's too bad that Greg Davis came in his senior year and ruined him.
He was having arguably, if he'd just had the regular senior year like he had as a junior, he would have the best stats possibly of any Iowa quarterback. Yeah. If you go back and look at him.
Yeah, I know. And that's what kills me, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so I get to do one now.
Yep.
And my number 7 just kills me, and the old players talk about it all the time. It's we beat Ohio State up and down the field the whole day. It was Hayden's 3rd Rose Bowl year. We lost 4 games that year, but we went to the Rose Bowl. And Ohio State, and the last play of the first half, Ohio State throws up this from 60 yards away. They throw a 45-yard pass. Merton Hanks, one of the greatest players Iowa's ever had, goes up to intercept it, and he goes up to catch it, and it bounces off his sternum pad on the shoulder pads that goes over the sternum, bounces off that, bounces directly to a Ohio State wide receiver named Graham. He runs into the end zone another 20 yards. And then the last play of the game, Balby Olive, they get another touchdown. And I listened to a podcast about that, the Jeff Book podcast this week, and he said he had gotten injured like the play before, and his backup went in there and blew the coverage on that last play of the game.
Oh, and that's too bad.
After the game, they come up to Cooper. John Cooper was the coach, and he went out there and he apologized to Hayden. He says, "You guys beat us in every category today. I'm just embarrassed that we won." And he told the ABC on the microphone when they were interviewing him after the game, he said, "This is embarrassing that we won." He said, "Iowa," he said, "this was just a freak accident like that." And it was. And I still hate that game. You got one?
Yeah, this one took place last year. The Iowa State game that we lost 19-20. We had the lead the entire game. I believe we led 19-3 at one point in that game, and lost the game 20-19 on their 50-plus yard field goal at the end of the game.
Oh God!
And what really strikes me is that we basically did Hail Mary pass, and our quarterback couldn't get it to the end zone. When I thought we should have at least tried a field goal, because I thought the Hail Mary pass wasn't going to work anyway. I thought our odds were better kicking a 60-yard field goal than a Hail Mary pass, but you know.
It was 66 yards, and it was into a wind, and Kirk said, "LeVar, can he do it?" And LeVar goes, "Absolutely not." But the thing that bothers me about that game was the terrible pass defense. But
yeah. Deshaun Lee and Hall, I think, each got burned in that game. And
I know. And Hall and
one of them was actually one of them was Castro took the blame on one. I think the other was blamed
Castro was that last long pass that set him up for the field goal. They had 28 seconds to go, and they were on their own 28-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
and Castro gives up a 35-yard pass down the sidelines.
I know it.
He
I
did
know it.
exactly the opposite. Castro was supposed to if anybody completes a pass, make it to the center of the field where they can't stop the clock. And whatever you do, don't let a guy get behind you. You don't play press coverage.
Mm-hmm. What about Wampa? Didn't he say that one of the plays was against him too? That, I mean, everybody's yelling at Lee and Hall,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think
The
he said
long,
that was really his fault.
that long pass, Jay Higgins, because he's the greatest teammate in history, man. He took the blame for it.
They're all
Even
taking the
though,
blame. They're all in the
even
locker room saying, "No, it's my fault. No, it's my fault."
well, Higgins after the game or in the next week's press conference says, "No, that's my fault. I should have been out there bumping the receiver. He's a middle linebacker, which I'm sure you try slowing down a receiver if you're a linebacker. But the play was 30 yards behind Higgins. It's like Jay was just a great guy.
Yeah. All righty.
Okay,
Anything else
my
you got? That was my last one.
my last two are both Northwestern games.
Okay, go for it.
One, oh God, I hated this game. Was the
I
game
know which
where
one you're gonna do. I know which one. I know it.
we're ahead by 13 points or 10 points with like a minute to go. We give up a touchdown to Northwestern. That's when they had their great coach that threw this hurry up offense thing. And then the next play, everybody in the stadium knows there's only like 30 seconds to go. They're going to onside kick. Do you think we could cut? Do you think we could get that onside kick? No, but so they recovered it and got another touchdown. They won. It was like we dominated that game. And then the last one's the other Northwestern game in 2020, where we were overhead 17-0, was it?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Brian Ferentz, everybody always says Kirk controls the offense. Well, no, we don't, because Brian decided to throw 50 some times and we lose.
Yeah.
We only
50
lost 2
sometimes.
games that year.
Okay, that's the one game where everybody gets that people would have loved for Kirk to go back to his
Well, he don't call the play. Kirk don't call the plays.
I know it, but that's where they would have
Sometimes he
loved
makes.
for
Sometimes
calling the run.
Sometimes Lester says he makes a strong suggestion, like we're averaging 9 yards a carry against Minnesota. Tim, run the ball. Just keep running the ball. The only way we can lose the game is if we pass. Well, Tim goes, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Well, do you remember the time earlier? I think it was earlier in the season. Tim was doing a press conference. It might have been during a bye week because usually the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators meet the press, and then special teams coordinator. That he said something about that he'd actually wanted to do a couple of downfield passes, but he said the committee overruled him. And I always thought, well, the committee, Kirk, and who else?
Well, it would be pretty much Kirk, if Kirk would have overruled him in the Iowa State game, we'd have never lost that one last year. Let's try what do they call that? A surprise. We got the ball back against Iowa State. We intercepted the ball and we were way ahead. I think it was the start of the second half. And let's surprise them and go deep with Lachey. And Cade McNamara throws it up. 2 guys on Lachey. And the strength of the Iowa State defense were all 3 of them safeties that are now in the NFL.
Yeah.
So they intercepted. All we had to do to win that Iowa State game last year was in the fourth quarter, just one more time run the ball. But no, we didn't. Just one time. But anyway. But there's so many heartbreaking. When you're an Iowa fan, it was like it's heartbreaking to even think of these games.
Yeah. For next week's show, I'd like to do our biggest bust. Football player, basketball player, people that we thought was going to make a world of difference, and we got disappointed. But I already have one in mind, and that game at Iowa State reminded me of.
Well, you remind me during the week. During the week, that's my biggest bust is Dolly Parton.
No, we're not talking that kind of bust.
I'm trying to take Paul's place. Give me a little credit.
Yeah.
And maybe we can do our villains sometime.
Yeah. Hopefully, I gotta believe Paul will be ready by next week. I just gotta believe it.
I ended up with a list of a villain for every single Big Ten team that we play.
Okay. Coaches and
And,
players?
and no,
Okay.
just one villain for, well, there's a couple of them that I got two villains, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
When I got to Ohio State, I could not leave off that Sheldon girl that likes to beat up Caitlin or Cody McMahon. Those are
Yeah.
villains.
They're villains, but they didn't. But were they villains when they played against?
Well,
Iowa?
yeah. Last 2 years, Cody McMahon, you know. And then to say the stuff she said about Iowa after the game when they beat them in the Big Ten tournament, you know, we have no respect. Iowa has no respect for us. It's like, what are you talking about?
The Ohio State. We beat the Ohio State people. Yeah.
They beat
Cody
us.
McMahon was Ohio State, right?
Yeah, they beat us in the last game with that. They fouled the hell out of Sydney Folter going to the hoop.
First of all, in the Big Ten tournament, we won it 3 years in a row, and then last year we didn't make it.
Yeah, we did. Did we win 3 or 4 years in a row?
I thought it was 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Or we could have won it all 4.
I know we won the last 3 years with Caitlin, but I couldn't remember when Caitlin was a freshman. You know, I remember losing to UConn, I think, in the NCAA tournament.
We made the Sweet 16 Caitlin's freshman year, and then they were upset by Creighton the next year and didn't get out of the round of 32.
That was one of my heartbreaks that I didn't leave on my list because I literally had, you said heartbreaks, and I thought of every sport, and it just was like, you know, for wrestling, it was the year that the wrestling tournament got canceled because of COVID.
Because we knew we were going to win the national title.
Well, we were the best. It wasn't even a race that year.
Yeah, but I want everybody to understand the reason why is because most of Penn State starters were taking the year off to prepare for what they thought was going to be the Olympics, and when they didn't do that, they took another year off the next year, which is why we won it in 21.
Yeah, I think in 2020, I don't care if all the Penn State's guys would have showed up. That team, I think I would have won it anyway, but I don't. I'm a wrestling fan, but I'm no expert.
Yeah,
but
I'm a wrestling fan too.
These heartbreak things, there was such a long list. It was hard to pare it down to 10.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a question. Did you, when I sent you that Bo Bassett video of him talking about how he talked?
Yeah.
I said, "What's wrong with this video?"
He's wearing an Iowa shirt.
There was 2 things. He was wearing an Iowa shirt.
Yeah.
I believe he hasn't committed anywhere yet, but he talks about the Lions, which means I think he's going to Penn State. I think he gave us a hint.
I didn't. I just, when you sent it to me, you go, "What's wrong with this?" And I looked and I didn't even listen to it. I seen the Iowa shirt and I go, "Well, I see what's wrong with it." I didn't even listen to it, Dean. But.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't believe at this late stage he still hasn't committed. But I guess he's got another high school year left. So.
Yeah, it's kind of early.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm sure he's mentioned the Lions because he's probably training with their team. You know, that's why he didn't come to Iowa. He couldn't train it. He wanted to train with the Iowa Wrestling Club or something. And that was against the NCAA
rules because he's closer to Penn State. That would have been the school he needed to go to train. However, I can't remember. There is an exception to the rule, and they wanted Tom to lie about it, I think. I'm going to give Tom credit because if everything we heard is true, I appreciate his integrity in this situation because it cost him not only one wrestler, but it probably cost him two other wrestlers down the road.
Yeah, 2 more brothers. So
yeah.
Did you see they lost another wrestler this week? A commit from Iowa, from high school in Iowa, and then I guess Gabe Arnold might be coming back.
That's the rumors. Maybe he's going to come back and do his penance, whatever that Tom wants him to do, for whatever he didn't do the first time. like
No.
show up for team practices and camps when he's in Florida hanging out with his girlfriend.
Can I mention one of Brett Bielema's quotes
Sure,
from
I
Big
would
Ten
appreciate that.
Michigan?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I listened to everything I could. There's a lot of stuff from other teams and everything, but and a lot of people. It must be in. Everybody's kind of saluting Kirk Ferentz.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody knows we're coming down to the end, right, Dean?
Mm-hmm.
He could be here 3-4 years. We don't
Or
know.
one.
But
Or one.
everybody's recognizing what he did,
Mm-hmm.
what he's done, which is very nice. Anyway,
And
Brett.
when he'll have the official record at the latest by the third game next year.
Yeah, and Brett's is great at telling stories. He's up there and he's talking about, I worked for Bill Belichick, but he said I was under 4 college coaches: Hayden Fry, Kirk Ferentz, Barry Alvarez, and Bill Snyder. And he goes, they are all first ballot Hall of Famers like that. Of course, I told Corey Breda that on a comment this week. And of course, Corey Breda just starts making fun of Kirk. Well, his winning percentage ain't high enough. And,
First of all, he's at 60%.
Everybody knows Kirk Ferentz is going to the Hall of Fame.
He's at 60% anyway, so he's got what he needs.
Well, he doesn't have it right now. But it's higher, a little tick higher than Mike Leach, who they've changed the rule to get in. And by the way, I was thinking Lincoln Riley really latched on to Kirk at the media thing because they don't know each other that well.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there with Kirk a lot. I kept seeing them film together and everything. And then I realized that Lincoln Riley coached with Bobby Stoops, and I got thinking, Lincoln Riley's and Mike Leach, they're in the Hayden Fry coaching tree because they coached under Bobby Stoops.
Yeah, so that would be in the tree. Yeah,
boy, that coaching tree is ridiculous. When
for Hayden Fry, it really is. It is.
Well, yeah, anybody that coaches for Lincoln Riley now is a Hayden Fry coaching tree.
Yeah,
isn't that weird? It's holy.
It is. Yeah. I thought I saw Kirk being filmed with the Purdue coach a lot too.
I don't know.
No, because the Purdue coach wasn't there his day. I'm trying to remember who was all there.
I just noticed that a lot of guys were coming up to Kirk, other coaches, and shaking his hand. I just imagine they're saying, we really respect you or something, because he's just about. I'm sure the Big Ten Network is probably has been interviewed all of them at this convention for the week that Kirk breaks the record. So every one of them gives a testimonial to the coach.
Kirk, congratulations on breaking the record.
Yeah. No, I talked to Tom Kakert today, and he's writing all these historical pieces on Kirk and how many times he broke down crying. He said at his third Big Ten media day, Joe Moore had died the month before, and some reporter said, well, Joe Moore passed away, your old mentor. And he said Kirk just broke down crying and everything. And all this stuff Kakert is writing this week. He's writing on the top 27 wins all time for Kirk, And it's starting to get, I said to Kakert, I said, this is kind of getting kind of emotional. And Tom Kakert, he goes, yeah, tell me about it,
So, dang it, I wanted to show you something. Okay, it's missing, but I have a book after Kirk's amazing run earlier in his career. They made a book of all Kirk Ferentz stuff, which is way outdated because I think about 15 seasons have been knocked out since then.
Who would have thought he'd still be here, Dean?
Nobody.
Not even Kirk.
Not even Kirk. Even Kirk said he didn't think he'd still be here.
Mary's probably the only one that would have predicted it.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that I couldn't remember what his answer was, but I think the panel asked him, Kirk, when you get that Woody Hayes record, what are you going to do? And because when they asked him the one time when he got the one record, they asked him what he was going to do, and he says, "I'm going to go home with Mary and have some cold pizza tonight."
And maybe some ice cream cake.
Is that what he said?
I don't remember, but he loves ice cream cake. I
I
remember.
got to tell you, for a man who's going to be 70 in a few days or in a week, man, he is in great shape.
I didn't know he had. I didn't know he had 2 artificial hips. He got
I
them.
didn't either. What?
He got them like years ago. I don't know how long ago. And then I was listening to Ethan Hurkett's interview, and Ethan Hurkett's, they're asking him about Logan Jones, what kind of defensive player he was, and he goes, he was pretty good, but he got injured. He blew out he had one of his an ACL, and then he practiced on it all year, and then Hurkett says, but that ain't nothing. He says, old coach, he's been playing. He played football from his senior year in high school until he quit playing without an ACL, and he still don't have it. I thought, what? Kirk Ferentz got a knee with no ACL, and then I started thinking of Brett Bielema
when he was ride a bike and stuff without it. Doesn't that kind of control your knee a little bit?
Well, it just your knee can go out sideways, but he must get along pretty good. I don't know. He hasn't. Yeah. He never got no artificial knees.
Then we'll never forget Spencer Lee winning the national title on no ACLs on either knee.
Yeah, and then I started thinking about Brett Bielema, which I listened to Brett a lot because he's a Hawkeye, and Brett, when he was a walk-on at Iowa, and the Iowa coaches broke the news to him that he was going to get a scholarship probably in the fall, and Brett just broke down crying because his parents were paying the money and from an out of state institution, and Brett said that spring he lost his ACL and he never got it fixed because he said if I'd have got that fixed, I'd have lost my scholarship.
Wow.
And then he said, you know why Kirk is so and the University of Iowa is special to me? He said when Hayden quit, he said, I thought I was out of a job. He said, my parents called me and said, do you even have a job anymore? And he goes, no, I don't know what I'm going to do. And anyway, Kirk decided to hire him. I'm sure that Hayden and Kirk knows Brett.
Mm-hmm.
They always spotted him as a future coach, and I'm sure Hayden said, Brett might be you might want to hire Brett.
How long was he coaching under Kirk, and what did he coach?
He was on the first staff.
Okay.
Kirk hired 2 holdovers, Chuck Long and Brett Bielema, probably because he knew him, and he made sure Kirk didn't coach defensive backs anymore. He was a defensive back coach for Hayden. He moved him over to quarterback coach, and because they had Norm Parker had Phil to coach defensive backs. Yeah. But so both of them anyway, my story is that Brett was out of a job. He didn't know what the hell he was doing, and he goes, Kirk called me in, and he said he wanted him to hire him as a defensive ends coach or linebacker coach. Linebackers, I think he coached Dallas Clark. And anyway, and he said, not only did Kirk hire me, he doubled my salary. And he said, I thought I won the lotto. He said, I never had that. I never had any money before. He said, me and another coach were living in Motel 6. And now we had $80,000. So
there you go. So that was a good story. My question is how long was he on the staff? One or 2 seasons?
Oh, he's on there longer than that. I don't know. He went from a linebacker coach, and then I think Bill Snyder hired him as the defensive coordinator at Kansas State, and then he did good there, and then Barry Alvarez hired him to take Barry's place. You know, so Brett's a hell of a coach. You know.
Yeah. Well, he did well when he had Brett did very well when he had Barry Alvarez's players. But the further and further he got away from Barry, it wasn't typical Wisconsin stuff.
Well, I think Brett's worst season at Wisconsin was probably 10-2 or 9-3. Brett, if he'd have stayed at Wisconsin, he'd have just kept winning 9-10 games. But he didn't want to leave Wisconsin, but Arkansas offered him this huge contract, and he said to Barry, they're offering me this, and Barry said, well, tough. We ain't paying you nothing. No, we ain't giving you no great big raise. So that's why he left.
Year that Barry coached the team in the Rose Bowl.
Barry's coached a bowl game like 3 times after he's retired. Different coaches. That Anderson quit. That took Bielema's place, and Barry had to coach the coach and stuff. But,
that guy was there, I think, just 1 year, and then he left.
Yeah.
And then the guy from Pittsburgh came over and took over, and then they fired him a couple of years ago.
One of the big improvements that Brett made at Wisconsin that the other coaches didn't have was he brought in Russell Wilson as a transfer. And
he was transfer portal material before the transfer portal blew up.
He was from NC State, and I think it was NC State, and a lot of Big Ten teams, other than Ohio State, never have an NFL quarterback. I guess Oregon does and USC, but
Well, we don't have one currently, but we did have one.
Well, we might have one named Gronowski.
Yeah, but
we had quarterbacks that have played in.
We had CJ who started his share of games in the NFL.
Not very many. Not very many starts, but he usually started in the NFL because the top 2 quarterbacks got hurt. But
and that's very true.
The quarterback from Iowa that started more NFL games than any other is Mark Vlasic for San Diego and my Chiefs. But
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Beathard's getting up there, passing him in probably career yards just because when Vlasic played, an NFL quarterback might throw for 2,000 yards. But Iowa's never had a really good quarterback that was a consistent starter in the NFL. But
well, I think
maybe we do this year. Maybe we have 2 of them this year.
Yeah.
Don't hold your breath, Dean.
So. I know. Okay, so here's the deal. I think we've reached the end of the show. I appreciate the memories and the losses and the comebacks. I appreciate the NIL stuff that you contributed because that was interesting in my book. I hope the audience, you found that interesting. If you made it this far, thank you for watching this far. Again, hit the subscribe button. We're over 500. I'm pushing for 6. I want to get to 600 and eventually get to over 1,000. If we can do that, I can monetize this thing.
Yeah. Hey, Dean.
Yeah.
Was it before the show started or after that we mentioned that John Nestor was starting for Minnesota?
Before.
Okay. So we can tell people John Nestor's starting for Minnesota. Ontario Thompson got money to go to the University of Washington and start on the defensive line. That was it, right?
Yeah, that was the 2. That was the 2 that one won't come back to haunt us, the other one will, and I hope we burn him. I like Nestor, but I hope we burn him.
We'd play Ontario Thompson next year, I think.
Isn't he done after this year? God, it seems like
he's only been in college 2 years. This will be his 3rd.
Yeah,
unless he's an NFL.
I can't find the 26 schedule. I don't think it's posted yet, but I don't believe we play Washington next year. I know that most people think we do, but we don't.
I thought we rotated whatever West Coast teams we played last year. We don't play them this year.
No, I believe we got both USC and UCLA next year, though.
Okay.
Let me look.
It don't matter. It don't matter. I can't even. I'm trying to focus on this year. So, and of course, Kevin Casper's boys starting for Oregon at this point too. So, Kyler.
Yeah, the 20. I don't know what's going on. They changed their thing. They used to have it posted, and now they don't.
I know the non-conference games are posted. That's all I've seen. But. If I remember right, we play Northern Illinois next year and Iowa State, and I don't know who else.
Okay, hang on here. We're gonna cheat and see if they actually put it down. Well, because you think they would put it down because, yeah, they didn't. They took it off the website. I don't know why, because at one point you could go and find the schedules for all the way to 2030.
Yeah, and then Dean donate to the Swarm.
Yes, the Swarm.
Mm-hmm.
Swarm
And
Collective. Both of us are members. I just don't wear my Swarm shirt. It doesn't fit like I want. But hey, I've lost close to 30 pounds. These shirts are fitting better than they used to.
Somebody
They don't fit so tight anymore.
somebody asked me today what I'd do if I won Powerball, and I said Kirk would have way better players, and he would.
Yeah. I would donate to both. I would help Iowa Hawkeyes and this my church.
And make sure you press the like button and click on subscribe.
Yes, do it all. And share this podcast. We're going to get out of here, guys. I'm sorry that this is probably the second poorest night we've had for live in-show views. I don't know why, but you guys are watching it on replay, so I appreciate that. So continue to watch. Thanks, guys. We're getting out.